On the field, off the field, sports talk, entertainment, and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 55 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. I'm your host, Drake, as always, joined by the man, the producer, Leighton Pip Shavantoe.
If David Bodie played for the Cardinals, we'd already be hearing raves about how he's the best player in baseball, an all-star, the next great Cardinal, and next Hall of Famer. Just like Elizabeth Diaz, Tommy Pham, Colton Wong, Randall Grichuk, and Stephen Piscotty. 35 games is not a career.
I could not agree more, Mr. Shavantoe. Awesome. But also sitting in today, guest host, Mr. Brandon Cole Riker.
I have compiled a list of the 3 most hated people in America right now. ISIS, Kim Jong-un, Brooks Koepka, or Koepka.
Koepka. His name's so irrelevant that you really don't even need to know how to say it. So guys, be sure to listen on Spotify and iTunes. We're going to be moving off SoundCloud very, very soon, sooner than later. So be on Spotify, be on iTunes, download, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Check out thefsgn.com. You can also find our podcast on there. They have a lot of cool ways that you can listen to different podcasts. Be sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram at TheSaucyPod. That is at TheSaucyPod on Twitter and Instagram. So guys, we have a very, very loaded show for you today. We're going to discuss one of the biggest sweeps in baseball this weekend and what that does for the Wild Wild West in the American League. We have a very, very special interview with Bernard Lodge, the CEO, and Brian Rapp, the Chief Marketing Officer of Fantasy Football Evolution. B-Right takes his talents outside of the kennel to go and get us a little interview. So be sure to check that out. Very, very good interview with those guys. And be sure to check out all that they do. We also are going to break down your top fantasy football tight ends. We have the Hot Take Detective is back. And we're going to break down some divisions. We have the NFC and AFC East today. So I said it earlier, the Wild Wild West had a very wild, wild weekend. My AL lovers, the Mariners, not only swept the Stros, but did so in a 4-game set. They beat Verlander, they beat Cole, they beat Morton, they beat Keuchel, they beat Mersrow of the Astros rotation. Guys, the AL West now has 2 teams within 4 games of the Astros. How will the pecking order unfold down the stretch, and can any team run the Astros down?
Well, I will start by saying that the Astros are very fortunate that the top 2 teams in the wild card race behind the Yankees are in the same division, and in fact, they start a 3-game series against each other tonight, so they're just going to beat each other and keep out of the Astros' way. That being said, it's very alarming for the Astros that the 4 games they lost were pitched by the 4 best pitchers on the roster. And the fact that they have Correa came back from injury, he's had 1 hit in 3 games. Altuve's on the DL. Speaking on the DL, people are just assuming that they're going to come back and be what they were before they got hurt, or even last season. And if they're not, and if this pitching, like, Mr. Verlander has been awful the past several starts. If this pitching can't keep it up, then I think they're in trouble missing the playoffs. That being said, I think they will make it because the A's and Mariners will beat each other, but it's not the best time in Houston right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Mariners, that was a very impressive sweep, and it's very alarming for the Stros, but I definitely think they're holding on to the number 1 seed. I think the final 3 in that division is going to be Stros, then A's, then M's. Like, let's not let this, recent success, fool us. The Mariners just lost series to the Blue Jays and Rangers before playing the Astros. It's not like they're playing a great ball, but they did have an impressive 4-game sweep. And the Mariners have a negative 19 run differential since August. The Stros need to figure it out.
You're right. They just had to move Felix to the pen. That's all they needed to do.
Actually, you know what? They are undefeated, I'm pretty sure, since they moved them to the pen. So
haven't lost a game yet.
I can't even argue with that. But I really actually like the Athletics. So I think it's going to be Astros and Athletics sneak in for that last wild card spot.
Well, that's just assuming that the Yankees make it, Brandon. And the Yankees have not been playing good enough to do that. Yeah, I agree with you, though. I think that the pecking order will continue the way that it has been trending. I think that the Astros will be first, and then you're going to have the A's, followed by the Mariners. The Mariners, their only glimpse of hope is that Robinson Cano will be coming back very, very soon.
Right.
And what kind of firepower he can add to the lineup is going to determine whether or not this team could win the division or possibly be left out of the playoffs. So I think it's all going to boil down to that. And, the last 30 games, we're going to find out, because that's whenever we're going to get Cano. And I'm excited for this division. This is actually the only glimmer of excitement that we have in the AL right now. And
The only glimmer all year, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is exciting. I'm extremely happy for the Mariners, though, and it comes at a great timing right after the Stros go out and get Ozuna, so it's kind of funny.
Right.
So guys, we said that they had beat the murderer's row of the Astros pitching, and one of those guys is Justin Verlander, and he has looked absolutely awful recently. He's 2-5 with a 4.38 ERA and a .267 batting average against in his last 9 starts. This is after starting off 9-2 with a 1.6 ERA and a .164 batting average in his first 16 starts. Guys, are you concerned at all that Father Time is catching up to Justin Verlander, and should the Astros be concerned as well?
I don't think it's Father Time. I think it's this damn wildfire in California, but now the pine trees. They're running out of pine tar in Houston.
Hey, I honestly think that you could be right with that.
But
they need to call the firing squad, baby. Get them out there.
Yeah, all they need to buy what's left of all the pine tar stock in the world, because this shit's not going to work for them in October.
Yeah. I picture the headlines now. Wildfires, burnout, Astros playoff chances, and it's a picture of Charlie Morton with just sticky ass hands.
That'd be beautiful.
That is beautiful. But I'm not extremely worried. He actually has let 2 or less runs in 5 of those 9 games. The other 4 games have been the worst games he's thrown probably in the last 1.5 years of baseball.
Since he got that pine tar.
Since he got that pine tar, I think he'll regain some of the stuff. But he's not going to put up what he did before the All-Star break. I think that was just him pitching out of his mind for half a year. I think he'll, go back to about sub-3 ERA. But that batting average hike, that does kind of scare me a little bit. But I think he'll bounce back.
The batting average is ridiculous because, a 267 in the MLB for any hitter is respectable. And if you're getting that against an ace every single time you go out there, and I'm not talking about just any ace, a legitimate bona fide one for a team that's supposed to be the World Series champ, you're in some trouble. I don't know if it's Father Time. I don't know if it's just kind of, the dog days of baseball catching up with him and maybe not being dialed in. But I would be a little alarmed if I was an Astros fan, especially with those teams nipping on their ass the way that they are. What happens if they get in a one-game, let's say they fall back into fall back into the wild card spot. You're in some trouble if Justin Verlander is not pitching at the best, because are they, even though if Morton's throwing the best, are they going to put him out there? Absolutely not. They're going to go with Justin Verlander because he was the guy that did it for him last year. So this is a little alarming. I think that if he throws together 2 more bad starts, I think Astros fans need to be hitting the panic button.
What are you more worried about, John Lester right now or Justin Verlander?
Oh, fuck. John Lester's been bad.
Dude, it's something has been in the air in August, late July. I'm telling you.
It's the old pitchers right now.
Yeah.
I think it's starting to wear on him. I think Madden needs to make up some injury, set him on the bench, and let him rest for a week or 2 because this is bad.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's a good thing about Cole Hamels.
Yeah, Cole Hamels.
Great.
Cole Hamels the only dude that's powering through August right now, so we'll take that.
He's a champion. We'll see his MVP.
Yeah, he is. Can't argue with that. He's got the rings.
He wants it.
So a recent trade piece, Manny Machado, we had considered was the biggest trade piece out on the market. Been back to reality since he's been traded to LA. Batting average is down .05. OPS is down .21 and already has 29 strikeouts in 23 games since the trade, when he had a total of 51 strikeouts in 96 games in Baltimore. Guys, the Dodgers are 11-3 since the trade and are out of the playoffs as we speak. I know we all locked him into the playoffs after the trade, but should we reconsider?
So I'm still locking them into the playoffs. But one thing, I did come on the podcast a little over a month ago, and I said that Muncy and Kemp would not keep up this production. And then those assholes fooled me into thinking that they could actually keep this up. And I had them winning the division by 6 games. Kemp is batting under 200. Muncy's hitting a little bit better at 208 since the break. It's just ridiculous. But, they do have Ryu back. Kershaw's only had a few starts since coming off the DL. Stripling, Buehler, they're great pitchers. I honestly think the D-backs and the Dodgers get in. Don't know which order, but I think the Braves and the Nats actually are out. So I'm actually putting the D-backs and Dodgers in.
Ooh, Braves are sitting in first place right now.
I know they are, but I have way more faith in the Phillies, and I think the Dodgers and D-backs are just too good not to make the playoffs.
Do you think that at the beginning of the season you'd say that you had faith in Gabe Kepler's ball club?
Zero. I had zero faith in
When you saying a guy cold, we thought that was the end for the Phillies.
Yeah.
But but he took words out of my mouth, and he said they fooled me too. I thought Matt Kemp could hit 300. There's just no way. He's 100 years old. Max Muncy is Max Muncy. He's not gonna hit 40 home runs. But really, I think the Dodgers want the Giants to win this division and win me $50 in return. Let's
Oh!
Let's keep it on right now. The 6 games back. The 6 games back. All right.
Just keep telling yourself that every single
6
day.
games?
Hey, what's September?
Yeah, that's when the Giants start rolling.
That's right.
I don't think I'm as dead set on this team as you guys might be. I think that they're a pretty decent team, but they had a lot of guys that were overperforming before the All-Star break, including Machado, who wasn't even on the team, but now he's back to reality. And I hate to be a pessimist, but I think this is closer to what Machado is than what we saw at the first half, because at the first half he was just playing ridiculous baseball. He is a very, very good player. He's an all-star, but I don't think the longevity of his career is going to be what we saw in the first half. That was just ridiculous. And it doesn't make any sense because he went from probably the worst lineup with no protection around him to a team that actually has protection around him, and his numbers have regressed, which is something very rare to see. I think that the Diamondbacks are going to win this thing because, like Cappy said before on Ducks on the Pond, great pitching beats great hitting. And I know that there's been some good pitching out of the Dodgers, but I don't think, especially with Kenley Jansen going down now for a month, and I'm not as dead set on that bullpen as I would be if, they would have added a piece at the deadline or Kenley Jansen was at least healthy to pitch. So I think I'm going to lean towards the Diamondbacks, and I can't believe I'm saying it because, this team on paper looks so damn good. I mean, they look unbelievably good.
Yeah. So wait, you think they look good on paper so they win the division?
Well, they look good on paper, but I don't think they're going to win that division.
Yeah, that's how baseball works.
Unfortunately, I think it is. Only one ball. Too many bats.
Too many bats.
Too many bats.
That's a thought.
So, Jake, you have a thought for us?
Actually, I do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Run Up magazine.
Does anything say Tiger is back more than the PGA ratings on this Sunday being up 69% from last year? Brooks Koepka, the second American golfer I've ever rooted against behind Patrick Reed. The difference? One can bench 315. If you don't believe me, ask Brooks. David Bodie, the most clutch hitter in Chicago Cubs history. There's a new Crush Davis. This time, it's spelled with a K. Matt Patricia looks like he ate Josh McDaniels right before he left Foxborough. Dante Fowler, Jalen Ramsey, just guys who live by the term, you're lucky he's holding me back. Only better fight of training camp was the precursor for the NFL season. The Jets and the Redskins fought it out for the worst record in the NFL. Cam Newton. You need to be careful coming at Kelvin Benjamin this early in training camp because, as history tells us, he's going to have the weight advantage. Hugh Jackson, smartest man alive. He knows the best way to punish Antonio Callaway is to keep him in a Browns uniform as long as possible. Antonio Callaway, slow learner. What says you're not good at football more than the same fans that was okay with Osweiler, okay with Simeon, and okay with Case Keenum having a GoFundMe page to cut you? Pick Six Lynch, you asked for it. And there's a new movie out this weekend. It's titled Hell on Earth, Welcome to Cleveland. It's a mashup of Little Nicky and Hard Knocks, starring Antonio Callaway, written by Adam Sandler, and directed by Hugh Jackson. And those have been my thoughts.
I gotta admire your audacity. After I opened the show making fun of Cardinal fans to say that Bodie's the closest hitter in history of the Cubs.
Hey, I had to one-up you. You thought Cardinal fans were bad. I come right back at you. Just remind you how bad us Cubs fans can be.
Yeah, there you go. But let's talk for a second. How ridiculous is that Hugh Jackson said that the way that he was going to punish Antonio Callaway was to make him play the whole game?
Dude, what is gonna? That is just like mind blowing to me, because now in my mind I just picture all those guys that are like borderline dudes that might not make the team, that really want to make the team. They need playing time in order to make the cut. They're just going to be driving around 100 miles an hour with a sack of weed in their car, just hoping they get pulled over, so they're forced to play more. It's like, dude, I don't know what you're thinking, man, but I don't think that's the way you punish people.
Yeah. How do you guys watch Hard Knocks?
I haven't yet.
I have not watched it yet. I would like to watch it now that I see Hugh Jackson doing dumb shit like this.
Well, Hugh Jackson says some more dumb stuff in the show. We'll talk about that a little bit later, though.
Dude, how dumb does that human being have to be to say that? And it's not like, people are going to respect his opinions on how to punish players, especially because he's like 1-31 in his NFL career since he came to the Browns. Like, I'm pretty sure that any of us three could do better as a coach, but at the worst, we would have only finished one game worse. I can guarantee that.
Oh, yeah, that's an absolute guarantee.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. That guy just cracks me up. So I hinted at it earlier. Brandon took his talents out to the field, took them out of the kennel, and he went and interviewed Bernard Lodge and Brian Rapp of Fantasy Football Evolution. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this interview.
All right, Dippers, and for your guys' pleasure, we have a very, very special interview. We have a couple of the brain children behind Fantasy Football Evolution. We have Bernard Lodge, CEO, and Brian Rapp, Chief Marketing Officer. How are you guys doing?
Good, Brendan. How are you? Doing great, Brendan. Thanks for having us on.
Awesome. Good to hear it. So let's just get this started. Bernard, you're the CEO of Fantasy Football Evolution, a fantasy football platform that basically gives you the ability to play fantasy football against the world. Can you tell me more about the product you guys have developed?
Sure. FFE began in 2012. We've been steadily growing and improving ever since. And we think FFE is it's a season-long competition, and we think it's the most strategic fantasy football competition out there. The main thing we offer, we have this 3 different stages, which makes us unique. Each stage has a different format to keep it really interesting. It's much more interesting than being in the same boring league all season. So, if you compare us to, say, ESPN or Yahoo, people would buy in, spend about $25 to buy into our world competition, 3-stage competition. Not only is it an entry into the world competition, it also enters that player into their local state competition for most states. I can tell you some exclusions later. And you can also use that team to start your own private competition if you want to be the commission. So we kind of do host, like Yahoo and some of the others, but we also, with that same team that we might host in the private competition, run in the global competition and the state. So we offer a
Oh, you guys definitely are very unique. Let's dive into that 3-step stages. And Brian, if you want to take this one, you can. Just explain each of the 3 stages and what makes it unique.
Sure, I'll take that one. So you start out, you buy a team, and the first thing you do with your team is you name it, and then you go to a draft. Now, a draft is a little different, too, because you're drafting against 11 computer teams. And you can draft at your own pace. So you can start a draft today, and you can draft 2 rounds, and then you can come back in 2 weeks and draft a couple more rounds, and right before the season starts, draft the rest. At any point along the way, you can say, you know what, I've made enough choices, and what's left isn't very interesting, so I'll let the computer draft the rest for me, too. Once you draft your team, and the season starts, you set your lineup, and you go into the first week of the season, and you're playing against one of the 11 computer teams in your own little league. Playing that league for 7 weeks, and if you go 4-3 or better, or you're in the top 50% of all the human teams, you go to a second round, which is sort of an elimination or kind of like seeding round. In that round, you get the point average you scored in the first 7 games, plus the points you accumulate in those next 3 weeks. And if you're in the top 64, that's when you go into the head-to-head kind of March Madness style tournament. At the end of that, we crown champion.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I took away when I heard you guys, first got introduced to you guys at that fantasy football convention, was that the first 7 weeks were against the computer. So it really just levels the playing field for everybody and kind of weeds out, I guess, the less skilled players, right?
Well, yeah, the intent, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah, it also does a couple of things. It also solves the weak league problem. You know, if you're trying to find out who is the best fantasy football player in the country or the world, the old way of doing that would have, hundreds of 12-player leagues, and you would never know who was the really best player. By this first stage drafting against the AI opponents, everybody gets the same level of opposition to begin with. There's no easy path through the level playing field. And those AI opponents, the skill level of those is set to be average fantasy player. So, taking you've done a mock draft, I think, haven't you, Brandon? It really feels like you're drafting in a regular pre-league draft party. But it's so smooth, modern, and easy to do. You do ways. If you're a commissioner and you want to run a competition, one of the big downsides is you have to organize a drafting party.
Exactly.
These are great. They can be fantastic, but quite often after a few rounds, it gets a bit of a chore. With FFE, you're drafting against computer opponents, so you draft completely at your own pace. It's that feature that allows us to offer it to the whole country or the whole world. We're not restricted to 12 or maybe 14 players. We're the only ones out there who have this feature. It's one of the other unique things that we have.
Oh, yeah, definitely. When I did that mock draft, it ran so smoothly. If I wanted to push pause, I could. Or if I wanted to finish up in 15 minutes, that was no problem at all, which really fits you into your schedule. So you guys explained that you have a national champion and even some state champions. What are the type of payouts that people can see from maybe being deemed the national champion or just being, I live in Texas, being the Texas state champion?
Well, the national champion is the grand prize, $25,000. And all the way down to the top 64, you're winning cash prizes. And so that's the main competition with its normal prize structure. Going in parallel with it, your team is also entered into your state, where state laws allow. And those states will have their own prizes. Their first prize would be in the hundreds of dollars. So maybe Texas, pretty big state, would be $400 or $500. I can't remember exactly. And then we have weekly prizes. If you're the top scorer each week, you can win $100 prize. if you do get eliminated, we have a points-based consolation competition that runs all season. That itself has a first prize of $1,000. I think also we have over maybe 115 cash prizes. Plenty of time to play. You never give up because of the interesting format. You know, you've got league play, you've got points play, you've got tournament play, you've got a consolation competition. Our players tend to play all season. You know, they don't drop out, lose interest. Most of our players will be playing all 16 weeks up to the final. I think I've got our main prizes out. I don't think I missed anything, did I, Brian? Yeah, I think you covered pretty well.
Yeah, no, I definitely think those money values might make some of our listeners' eyebrows raise a little bit. That really is an awesome setup you guys have. You know, at the convention, you guys kind of said something that really resonated with me too, is that with your guys' structure, it seems like it's really good for beginner fantasy players, especially during the draft, where you can pause it, do some research. Has that been your guys' consensus feedback, that first-time or novice users like using your guys' product?
Well, you know, actually, we've got feedback from fairly experienced players and from the novices as well. And yeah, they both like it because, you know, it goes both ways. If you're a really experienced player, you know who you want, and you're pretty well-versed, you can go through a draft, like you said, you can do a draft in 15 minutes. If you're somebody that really wants to think about each pick and, analyze each one to make sure that you've done the best possible, choice you can do, then, for sure novice, you can take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of, we've had good feedback from women players, actually, as well. And the feedback that they give us is that it's low stress for a new player.
Mm-hmm.
This pause feature, you can pause it, you're not holding anybody else up, so there's no pressure, you can ask about it, there are help and aids within the system to help you draft, and a lack of stress during drafting is something that novice players find really easy. But as Brian said, if you want to manage 20 teams or more, it's easy to do that. So we attract both the expert and the novice. It seems to be a nice balance.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for both. I think our listeners have already noticed, Bernard, that you definitely don't have a regular American accent. You definitely come from overseas. And doing some research on you, you used to be a vice president of the Marsden Corporation, which deals with pet food and candy industry. What made you make the jump over to the fantasy world?
Well, you're right. I was in the finance world in a major corporation, and I had a huge. And Brian is also from Mars as well, so we knew each other from our professional corporate lives. My job involved me traveling all the time. My region was the Americas, so I would be flying every week, Canada to Argentina. And to be honest, it just wore me out. And so I was looking for an opportunity to do something after the corporate world that I could, start to build my own business with. And another friend, a different friend, invited me to invest in FFE back in 2011, 2012. And it was the most, I knew absolutely, not that I'm an expert now, certainly of the players, I knew nothing about fantasy football back then. But so since then, I've become fanatical about it. And it's one of the best moves. I've never had so much fun as doing this. And it just makes me young again. I feel like a kid doing something I would do for free while trying to make some money at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think that's what we're all striving for with the job. But I think if I could ever make a little bit of a living from talking sports or doing fantasy stuff, I think me and most of our listeners would definitely jump on board there. And I think it probably definitely helps that you have a good business background to start a company out.
That's been a big help.
Yes.
I was a finance background. I was also IT, so I have to say within the FFE team, I'm focused primarily on the business side. I'm learning about couple of our own personalities, if you like, on the FFE team, who love to get into the details of the drafting strategy. I'm one of the novices that we were just talking about once it comes to drafting. But hey, we've been able to build over the last 5-6 years a product that's very rich and very deep. It's very strategic, and it deliberately so. So if you give FFE a try, you'll be intrigued. It takes you a while to really get the feel and the idea of it. I was so pleased did mock drafting, as that's probably the best way into it for any potential player.
Oh yeah, I mean, I checked you guys out and I did that mock draft, and I think it really opened up some of the questions I had. And you talked about it. Brian's you're more of your fantasy guru there. So actually, Brian, I have a couple of fantasy questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah. So many of the Dippers know I embarrassingly placed last in my keeper league that we have with Sauce on the Side. So I have the first pick this season. Many of the top running backs are off the board. So basically, I'm left with this decision. Do I take Leonard Fournette or Saquon Barkley with the first overall pick?
That is an interesting one, actually. We don't have keepers in FFD. So unless you're in one of the later spots in our snake draft, you probably wouldn't have this choice available to you. But that's okay. If your league has, like let's say half point per reception like we do in FFD, I'd probably go with Barkley. Because I see him being a bit more of a, speed around the backfield. Otherwise, I'd probably flip a coin.
Yeah, I know. I've been racking my brain, but I've been leaning more towards Barkley too, just because I really like that upside in the receiving game. And this is one more fun things we do on here. Our co-host Drake, he loves the sleepers, loves talking about the sleepers. What sleepers do you have for the upcoming 2018 fantasy season?
I try and do as well. Look for somebody who's undervalued and try and pick them up later in the draft. So I think Alex Smith for one at quarterback. I think a lot of people since the trade to Washington have sort of devalued him. You've seen some of the rankings. I mean, last year he had a great season, and from what I understand, Coach Gruden's going to add some zone reads to the playbook just because Smith is in town. Running back, Rex Burkhead for New England. I know they drafted Sonny Michel, but with Deion Lewis gone and seeing what Belichick did last season near the end, Burkhead got a lot of work, and I think the same thing's going to happen this year. Last piece I'd probably say, it's kind of sad to me a little bit because I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm going to go with Deshaun Jackson. I still feel bad the Eagles got rid of him, but I think last year, I know we had a tough time, and he and Winston didn't seem to find each other. But I know that they spent some time working out together. They're going to try and make a connection this year when they couldn't last year.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson's a great talent, and he definitely fell off last year, so I don't think he's on a lot of people's radar, so that could be a good one. I really like that Burkhead one, too, with Deion Lewis leaving. Deion Lewis had some weeks last year that I think he really won some games there. So, and then the last question I think I'm going to ask in the fantasy realm, do you guys see any rookie quarterback setting the fantasy world on fire? We had a bunch of quarterbacks taken in the first round. Do you see any of them making a real big fantasy impact this year?
Well, yeah, that's a tough one because really, I like Baker Mayfield, but first he's got Tyrod Taylor to beat for the job, and then Cleveland has this history of being like where the highly touted rookie quarterbacks go to die.
Right.
So I'd probably pass on him. I'd probably pick Josh Rosen. I think he even if he doesn't play the job outright, Sam Bradford's kind of a dicey injury history. So I think that they'll get a good chance to see on the playing field, and I think they'll make the most of whatever he does. As far as Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold, I think they're going to have a harder time getting on the field, to be honest with people that they're competing with.
Yeah, that was always my thing looking at these. I just don't know who's going to get on the field, but I'm with you. I think Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield definitely have the best chance, especially with Sam Bradford's knee, who we don't even know what's even left with that. So.
That's true. And I shouldn't throw this out there as a bias, but I'm with Notre Dame, so I saw Sam Darnold last year at this game, and we got him out of the game in the third quarter, so that kind of plays against us for me too.
Oh, there you go. So one last time, just tell our Dippers how they can get a team on FFE and win that cold hard cash.
Sorry, you want me to yell out? Well, fantasyfootballevolution.com. We're also, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's very simple to join. First team is in the range of $25. Basically, head to the website, press the orange button, and you're away.
All right, well, that sounds easy enough. So you guys heard him. Go to fantasyfootballevolution.com and go try to win you guys some cash. So, guys, thank you for coming on. And as always, stay saucy.
All right, Brandon. Very killer job with the interview. Guys, be sure to check them out. Sounds like they're doing some pretty cool things over there. So we're going to stay on the track of fantasy, and today we're going to break down your top 10 tight ends for this fantasy football season. We've already broke down quarterbacks. We've hit running backs. We've also hit wide receivers. It's time for the big boys at the tight end position. Guys, we're going to give you our top 10. We're going to give you guys who will be drafted too high, our breakout candidates, and we're going to talk a little bit about rookies because rookies were very popular picks at the front half of the draft. So, guys, Brandon, we'll start with you first. We'll do 1 through 5. Give me your 1 through 5 tight end position.
Well, I think every single one of us is going to have the same number 1, and that's Gronkowski. He's the best tight end when healthy. Lock him in for 8+ touchdowns.
Who is this guy?
He's Robert Gronkowski.
Roberto Gronkowski.
The man, the myth, the legend. Number 2, I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I have a little bit of concern with him with the emergence of Sammy Watkins on the team, Patrick Mahomes, but I'll put him number 2. Number 3, Zach Ertz. 3 straight years of 800-plus yard seasons. I think he'll be a 1,000-yard receiving guy. Light it on fire this year. Oh, yeah. He was on pace last year if he didn't get hurt. Jimmy Graham. Touchdown machine to New Orleans. Touchdown machine last year. Rodgers should be feeding him. Nobody really behind Devontae Adams. And then I'm actually going to go with, you're going to be surprised, old man, non-exciting Delanie Walker. Number 5.
Wow.
I actually like that Delanie Walker pick. I think he's going to be really
good. I really
good
like
again.
Delanie Walker. I mean, behind Corey Davis, who do you have? And I think the Titans have to be better.
Oh, yeah. You know, this is a little fun fact. 2012, did you know that Delanie Walker and Randy Moss were both on that 49ers team?
Wow.
I did not know that.
That is nuts.
That is crazy. 2012, Randy Moss, Delanie Walker, you didn't hear shit from both of them. Colin Kaepernick was the man. What a time to be alive. Leighton, run us through your top 5 fantasy tight ends.
My number 1, same as B-Like, is Gronkowski. He told you all the stats, but he didn't say he got 16.7 yards per catch for his career, which is insane.
He's just fucking amazing. Let's just get it out there. Gronk is fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's a top 10 wide receiver, so you really can't argue with that.
Yeah. Number 2, Travis Kelce, same word Ben has, but I feel he's definitely part of that offense and didn't have very little injury concerns. Unlike number 3, Zach Ertz, who is full of injury concerns. Ben mentioned it earlier. He's not pitching for 1,000 yards season, but he got hurt, and injuries follow you. Look at Gronk. Number 4, I have Evan Ingram. I got a lot from the Giants. I got a lot, actually. A lot of my redraft leagues. I'm going to get him a ton because he goes in the 7th, 8th round. I want him for a tight end. At number 5, I have Jimmy Graham. Aaron Rodgers never utilizes a tight end ever, but Jimmy Graham, he's a wide receiver out there. And I imagine he could be playing up a whole lot more than down.
Yeah, if he plays with his hand on his ground one time, somebody should walk over there and smack Mike McCarthy in the face.
Oh, yeah.
So number 1, obvious choice, Gronk. We assume he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's a top 10 wide receiver, more like top 5, number 1 tight end. Even missing 3 games to Kelsey's 1, he still outscored him. We know Gronk's going to be consistent, and we know that he's going to have the most consistent quarterback play of anybody. Number 2, Travis Kelce. Pat Mahomes last year in his 1 start hit Demetrius Harris 3 times for 73 yards. It was his only start, small sample size, but young quarterbacks love to check down. I expect his 122 targets from last year to remain consistent, which he led the league from tight end position at that stat. Number 3, I'm very surprised neither one of you had him in your top 5. Greg Olsen, 3 straight years of 120 targets, 1,000 yards, and in the playoffs last year, he had caught 8 balls on 12 targets, 107 yards, 1 touchdown versus the Saints. The guy's a machine. I mean, up until that point, you guys might want to stat check me on this. Leighton, do it. I'm pretty sure up until last year, Greg Olsen, who's like 33 years old, missed like 3 games his whole entire career. Through the Bears, through the Panthers, and it was just kind of a freak injury. I expect him to be back 100%, and I expect him to be firing on all cylinders. I think the emergence of DJ Moore this year will actually help Greg Olsen kind of find a hole in the middle of the zone there and actually help with his numbers. Number 4, I flip-flop back and forth so hard on these two. Jimmy Graham and Zach Ertz are almost a pick-em. I'm going to go with Ertz at 4. His ceiling is basically his floor. He's going to be a 70-catch guy. He's going to have his 800 yards, but he's not going to dominate a ton of games. He has 6 100-yard games in his 79-game career, 3 games with more than 1 touchdown. Not going to really blow teams away, but he's going to be a guy that every single week he's going to get you – he's going to get you his. He's going to get you that 5 to 16 range, and he's never really going to bust, but he won't blow up as well either. So number 5, I have Jimmy Graham. 95 targets last year, 520 yards. That's pretty laughable to think that Jimmy Graham would have to take like 180 targets just to make it to 1,000 yards. That's not going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, produces 700 yards to tight ends, but it's usually to multiple mouths. So a lot of people say that, he doesn't really like the tight end. Well, he averaged about 700 yards to the tight end over his career, but he's been going to guys like Jared Cook, Rashard Rodgers, Marty Bennett, Lance Kendrick, and they've all been kind of on a carousel there where there hasn't been one staple guy there. And I think that Jimmy Graham's going to be there as the staple of the offense because somebody's going to have to take up for Jordy's 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns disappearing.
So let's break down a couple of differences we had here because I think we all had, at least one different in our top 5. Yeah. Greg Olsen, I can't deny those 1,000-yard seasons. He dominated when he was, but last year he played in 8 games, and 6 out of the 8 he was held under 25 yards. You don't think that was crazy to you?
I don't think that he was.
And to add to that, going back to your injury thing early, he only missed 2 games before last year. But he said like you said, he's 33 now. That's a lot of games. So I think
a lot of games.
I think the injuries going to pile up for him. I mean, he didn't. Number 6. Well, that's outside my top 5, but I can't put him in the top 5 because of the injuries.
No, I think he's going to be top 3 because if you look at he's the best one outside of Gronk and Kelsey. Just from a production standpoint, he's going to be there. And Cam Newton has this love for this guy. And really, outside of him, who else does he have? He has Devin Funchess, and Devin Funchess kind of emerged last year. But even whenever Olsen came back from injury, he was right back on Olsen in the playoff games. Whenever times get tough, he's going to go to Greg Olsen. So I have to, in my rankings, I have to assume health. And assuming that they're healthy, I have Greg Olsen at number 3. I'm not actually concerned of him getting hurt at all. I think I'm going to be a lucky man for 900 yards this year.
To your point, I don't put injuries into it at all. The issue I have is that the 6 out of the 8 games with the low yardage, he uses Christian McCaffrey a lot on those.
I think last year, I don't think Greg Olsen was right. I don't think he was right all season because at the beginning of the year, whenever I watched him, he didn't look as good. And Cam was like historically inaccurate at the beginning of the season. He was just missing everybody on throws, even open throws. It was basically he was going to throw the ball to McCaffrey or it was going to be incomplete.
All right. Well, hey, Leighton, do you have anything to add to that?
No. Okay.
I have to ask you about Evan Ingram. You're locking him to 4?
I like him
You're
at 4.
going with the industry guys, huh?
I like him at 4.
Why are you so so you think that with the you have Barkley and OBJ coming back onto that team?
Mm-hmm.
You think that Ingram will still take even a step forward because he would have to really take a step forward to be number 4?
I do because look at last year, Pat Shermer and Vikings. Kyle Rudolph, when he was healthy, was a very part of the offense, and not like the Vikings didn't have weapons. And last year, over the past 6 or 7 weeks, Ingram was a tight end 1 like 5 out of 6 weeks. I like throwing to this guy. This guy is just a freak athlete and a stud. He's more Jimmy Graham than it is Greg Olsen, even though he plays his hand down. The freak athlete out there.
I don't like Evan Ingram. I'll get to my point on him whenever I get him. I have him in my top 10, but I'll get to that point. B-Right, give us your 6 through 10.
6 through 10. Okay, I have Kyle Rudolph coming in at number 6. I really like the possibility of Kirk Cousins really getting him a lot of targets. He's got a lot of mouths to feed, but I really like it. And Kyle Rudolph always gets touchdowns. I have Greg Olsen at number 7. I've already told you my reasons why I had the slide there, but he's Greg Olsen. He'll be in the top 10 no matter what.
Three-leg Greg.
Three-leg Greg. That's true. Jordan Reed.
You know from experience?
No, I just listened to his rap video at the U. It was a good one.
That's all you need. Number 8, I'm going totally off of talent and his 2015-16 production. That's Jordan Reed. I just think him and Alex Smith will probably link up, and I just love his upside. Reed, if he stays healthy, is lock in number 10, but that's the biggest question mark ever. And then number 9, I have Ingram falling. I think only 2 of the 4 actual weapons I have are going to be able to really produce. They have Sterling Shepard, they have Saquon Barkley, OBJ, Evan Ingram. I just have a really suspicious thing that Ingram will take a little bit of a step back. And then number 10, honestly, I don't even know if I had to say it. What's Cleveland? What is it? Njoku?
David Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku.
I just didn't want to look like a dumbass saying Njoku. Yes, Njoku. It makes a lot of sense. Tyrod will hook up with him. He had 2 touchdowns in the preseason. There was a lot of concerns that he couldn't catch balls, I guess, coming off of Hard Knocks, but he looked pretty damn solid in the preseason. Njoku, number 10.
My 6 through 10, I say Greg Olsen. You know about him, talked about him for just 5 minutes just now. The 7th, Delaney Walker. I feel more confident in saying that he will land somewhere between the 4 and the 8 tight end spot than I am anything all season.
Oh, I guarantee
that is
right on that.
Like that's where he's going to be at, 4 to 8. Number 8. Go ahead, Jake.
Last year he even had a rushing touchdown. He snuck one in from the 1. And I remember because I was like, yeah, Delaney Walker's going to have a terrible week. And somebody called me and asked me for advice on their fantasy team that week. And I can't remember who their other tight end was, but it was a serviceable tight end. And I told them to go with him. And the guy that I had picked ended up having, I think it was over 100 yards, no touchdowns. But Delaney Walker had a very, very borderline week, 40 yards. But he had a 1-rush, 1-yard touchdown, and they were mad at me. I'm like, how did I know Delaney Walker would be the recipient of an end-around play at the 1-yard line? Leighton, but continue.
Number 8, I have Jordan Reed. If I knew he would be healthy for 16 games, he'd be much higher than this.
Oh, he'd be my number 2.
Yeah, he's very comparable.
So talented.
He would compare with Travis Kelce, who Alex Smith had last year in Kansas City and did magic with. So, if Jordan Reed's there later rounds, they're taking Jordan Reed. Number 9, I have David Njoku. Man, I talked about it earlier. He had 2 touchdowns in the preseason game. I think one came from Baker, one came from Tyrod. So regardless of who they have out there, they're throwing Njoku. At number 10, I have Kyle Rudolph. Talked about this a few weeks ago about Kirk Cousins. I felt like Case Keenum was playing to not lose his job rather than win games, and he made more conservative throws. I feel like Kirk Cousins knows he has to job no matter what, and isn't going to make the team conservative throws. So I see Rudolph's receptions going down and targets, but the touchdown numbers, like Brandon said, will probably still be there.
See, I kind of disagree with you on that. I have Rudolph at my number 6. Flew under the radar last year at tight end 7 on less receptions than Ben Watson. So if you think about that, that's really good production for a low amount of targets and catches. And with Kirk Cousins, over the last 3 seasons, you remember how I said that Rodgers averages about 700 yards out to the tight end position? Well, Kirk Cousins averages 1,000 over his 3 yards as the starting quarterback and 9 touchdowns per season. That's with Vernon Davis, who went as tight end number 11 last year, catching 4 of 9 of his red zone targets. Kyle Rudolph last year caught 14 of 16 of his red zone targets. The connection's going to be great. I think you can lock Kyle Rudolph in to flirting with top 3 touchdowns as far as tight ends go.
Well,
And
I mean, who's going to be getting those touchdown grabs other than Kyle Rudolph? You know, like I don't think Diggs and Thielen are going to be.
Thiel's not a big touchdown guy. He's a 1,000-yard guy who's going to be 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook's my only scare. Coming out of the backfield, scoring touchdowns that way. And Lat Murray, kind of a power runner. You know, if they're on the one, they'll rather feed him than throw it up to Rudolph. But 14 of 16 catches last year in the red zone is ridiculous. And I like Kyle Rudolph at 6, and I think a lot of people are going to be able to steal him late. Number 7, I really like David Njoku. Athletic stud. If you want points, and you want to look at the 30 catches last year for 300 yards, that's not that great. But if you look at historic tight ends as rookies, there really hasn't been any good rookies. I mean, even Gronk in his first season was only a 500-yard guy. Tyrod Taylor, 26% of his yards, 23.5% of his touchdowns have been to tight ends, and that's led by a guy named Charles Clay, who was drafted as a fullback. So you look at Njoku. Yeah, you look at Njoku, you lock him in for 80 targets because that's pretty spot on for what Tyrod does. And, you know, Tyrod's going to hit him for a touchdown in the preseason. You know the connection's going to be there. He even got one from Baker, so it doesn't scare me who starts. I think David Njoku is an athletic specimen, and I think he's going to tear it up this year, tight end 7. Number 8. Leighton said it earlier. He's going to fall between 4 and 8. Delaney Walker, 4 straight years of 400 or 4 straight years of 800 yards, 100 plus targets. He's 34 years old. He peaked extremely late as far as an NFL body goes. If you guarantee me health, I'll guarantee this production again, especially if you are one of those believers that think Mariota's going to improve. And last year, I know he made the playoffs. I know he even won a game, but he was terrible, and I think he has nowhere to go but up. Number 9. Jordan Reed, number 1 tight end talent. He could easily be the guy who dethrones Gronk off the top of the tight end throne, but he's not going to. I say I assume health, but I mean this guy's going to get an ingrown toe and miss a game or something crazy.
Right.
Like every single year, it's just some crazy ass injury that comes out of nowhere, bites him, and he misses games. Could easily be 1,000 yards, 10 plus score, but he's had more surgeries than probably games played. If you get him late and you already have a tight end, take him. Absolutely take him. Jordan Reed, he's a stud when he's healthy. And number 10, I have Evan Ingram. He's number 2 in tight ends targets last season, but he was the number 5 scorer. That's never going to happen again in his career. He's never going to see as many targets as what he did last year. I think it was 115. He had OBJ, B. Marsh, and Sterling Shepard all missed a total of 27 games. That's option 1, 2, and 3, all gone. I mean, Roger Lewis was even flirting with 500 yards last year. Shane Vereen, I think, saw like the 4th most targets in the offense, so I think that was pretty fluky. I still think that he's going to be productive. I think he's going to be a tight end 1 guy. I think he's going to have his weeks, but he's also going to be really bad some weeks. And I think he's a very good player. But whenever you have Odell Beckham Jr., and, I mean, just think about statistically the best wide receivers in the NFL, guys that change the pace of the game. AB, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, like all those guys at the top of the throne, they don't have top 5 wide receivers on their, or top 5 tight ends on their team just because they aren't able to feed enough mouths, because you're looking at a top 5 wide receiver, basically 2 on the same team. You look at the Patriots with Gronk. They really never have a guy at the top of the food chain for tight end at the wide receiver position. You look at Kelsey, not really anybody at the top of the food chain. The Panthers, same thing. And I mean, even with Zach Ertz and the Philadelphia Eagles, they don't have a top 10 guy on their team. And to assume that a team is going to have a top 5 wide receiver and a top 5 tight end, I think that's tough. That's asking a lot of Peyton Manning and assuming that Saquon Barkley is going to tank this year. So I have him at 10. I like him a lot. I love him. I actually said last year that I liked him to actually have some production. But, I mean, I don't think he's going to be top 10 or top 5.
Just to clarify, Drake said Peyton Manning. Eli Manning, the quarterback of the Giants. Peyton would probably get all those guys. Yeah, he'll probably get all the guys in the top 5.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
can't
no,
do
no.
that.
Peyton, everybody be top 5. Hell, they'd even have like Sterling Shepard at like the number 3 wide receiver, only behind
Oh,
Odell
it'd be-
Beckham and AB.
Just some fun facts about our list. No other list, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, all had the same top 2. Everybody did. All the sauce on the side boys had the top 2. And I haven't got a firm list on all 6 of us, but everybody had the same top 10. Like, a different
10.
order, but everybody had the same
Wow.
members in the top 10. And that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
I was gonna ask you
But
guys. Is it the first time? And for me, it's the first time my fantasy career that I can remember getting. If I get any of these 10 tight ends, I'll be happy with how the team
Absolutely.
is.
Other than, I think, well, for me at least, Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz all have really good seasons. But honestly, I'm not even taking Ertz maybe like 6th, 7th round. I don't know. Gronk and Kelsey are locks, but a lot of these guys aren't getting 1,000-yard seasons. And like you said, most of them aren't like wide receiver. Gronk's the only one in the top 10 of wide receivers. So
I think as far as Gronk goes, I'd be okay taking him late 2nd round. As far as Ertz or as far as Kelsey goes, he's more of like a 4-5 guy. And then you past that, there's not much that separates Delaney Walker from Greg Olsen, in my opinion. I think it's 2 points a week, maybe a point. And that's my number 3 to number 8. And as far as the top 10 list goes, I only have 2 other guys that I look at serviceable options at the tight end position for this season. And I look at Hayden Hurst. I think that he, as far as a rookie, could be a breakout guy. Mike Gesicki, we'll get to the rookies in a minute. But as far as guys that just traded teams or finally found their niche towards the end of last season, Trey Burton and George Kittle. Those were 2 guys that I had flirting on the outside of my list. That I feel like those are the only 12 serviceable tight ends that I feel confident in saying, yeah, they're going to have 600 yards and 3 scores.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yeah, they're all around.
So we had maybe talked a little bit about it, maybe discussed it. But, guys, who's your guy that you think will be drafted too high at the top of the tight end position?
Well, I'm actually going off of what you had right off side of the top 10. I actually think George Kittle, his ADP has him as the 11th best tight end. And a lot of people are just linking up that Jimmy G and George Kittle connection, thinking it's going to be so great. Last year in Jimmy G's 5 starts, Seelick outperformed him 3 of those games. And out of over half the yards that he had in those 5 games came in 1 game with the Rams. He had 100 yards. The rest of them, he was really going around like 20, 30 yards a game. I see him falling back closer to the 17 to 20 range because I think that Jimmy G's going to just have a lot. I mean, Pierre Garçon's going to be coming back. He'll have Goodwin. I'm not huge on Kittle at a number 11 ADP, but if you start getting to 15, 16, 17 ADP, then I'm fine with taking him.
I agree with you. I think George Kittle would be a good guy that you could take to be a backup. I feel comfortable with these 10. But George Kittle, I like him to a point. It just depends on what kind of connection Jimmy G is going to have with Pierre Garçon. I do like him, though, as a guy who can possibly be a breakout candidate. But as far as locking him in, I didn't realize that he was 11 ADP on that. That's pretty freaking high.
He's 11 average ADP for tight ends. And then also a lot of industry guys have him in their top 10. I'd say at least like 40% of them have him in their top 10, which I think is just too high. Like you said, if you get him as a backup, I'm fine with it. But I think people are going to try to steal him late for their starter. I don't think that's going to be great.
You know what I think would honestly be good later rounds if you still haven't drafted your tight end? Take a flyer, get George Kittle or Jordan Reed, and I think one of those guys are going to end up doing well this season. So, Leighton, who is your guy that you think will be drafted too high?
Before we go on to this, one more thing about George Kittle real quick. Let's face it, he has to get a tougher name than Kittle and Bitts to ever be a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, that's
fair.
That's a terrible name.
But my guy, we talked about already, and it's Greg Olsen. Like, we already talked about the injury concerns and the lot of master fees. Not only does he have McCaffrey and Funchess, now he's on DJ Moore, who some people might think might be the best rookie wide receiver this season. Greg Olsen, he's going to the top, 6 rounds. That's insane too high for me to look at tight end with that many master feed.
Yeah, I hate to look at a guy who had missed 2 games in his whole entire career to think that there's an injury concern with him. I know he's getting up there in age, but tight ends are one of those weird positions that even like Tony Gonzalez, they can sustain that career. My guy that I think is going to be drafted too high is Evan Ingram. I think I had hit at it earlier. I think a lot of people look at Evan Ingram as a top 5 guy. They're going to try to be the smart guy in their league that takes a second-round guy and jumps on him early. But I don't see it being a lock in there, because now you have 3 guys that are now all better than what he is catching the ball. Sterling Shepard's healthy, Saquon's healthy, OBJ's healthy. All 3 are better receiving options than Evan Ingram. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be great. And I think people are drafting him thinking that he's going to be great. So, guys, who is your breakout candidate this season?
We've all talked about him in Njoku. He makes just too much sense. He's a great talent. Like I said, Tyrod will use him. I mean, think about it. Who is really going to get all the red zone scores? You have Landry getting a lot of the targets, during the middle there. He's probably not going to score a whole ton. You have Callaway or Gordon getting a lot of the big plays, and Njoku will score in the red zone. I'm not locking him for a ton of yards, but I'm locking him for a ton of touchdowns, and we'll make him top 10.
Yeah, Njoku was also my top breakout candidate. But another guy, Trey Burton on the Bears. Last year when the Eagles lost Jack Goods, it turned out they didn't really lose anything. Trey Burton steps right in there. The production went down a little bit, but, I mean, from a tight end standpoint, he's the best in the league at the time.
Yeah. So you guys kind of got mine there. I actually had 1, which was David Njoku as being my breakout candidate. 2 would have been Trey Burton with the Bears. A third one, and I'm actually going to – this will transition us a little bit into rookies. I like Mike Gesicki. I like Mike Gesicki a lot. In case you guys don't know about him, he's from Penn State. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, runs a 4.5. Unbelievable athlete, to say the least. Julius Thomas is out of town. You have Gesicki. And, Ryan Tannehill, he's not a huge guy that leans on the tight end, but it's not like he avoids him in general. And especially whenever you look at a team that – the wide receiving core is good, but not great. A lot of them are undersized, with the exception of Devontae Parker. You're going to be looking for that red zone threat. I think Mike Gesicki could be one of those guys who steps in immediately and has an impact. The only question is blocking. I don't think he's that great of a blocker, but you look at this team, I think that they'll put him out wide, and I don't think they're going to have any problem with that. I like Gesicki a lot, and I think that he's going to have a great NFL career. Whether or not he finds success early or not is going to be, dependent upon a lot of factors. Rookies aren't usually that good. Guys, do you like any rookies? I was looking up some rookies at the tight end position. Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Gates, Jason Witten, Kellen Winslow. 5 guys that are top 10 tight ends all time. Only none of them actually saw a 550-yard receiving season as a rookie. We saw 3 tight ends go within the first round. I actually talked about one of them. Guys, do you like any fantasy tight ends?
You talked about this guy earlier too, Hayden Hurst. Just knowing how Baltimore's offense works, he'll have an impact from day 1, game 1. He'll be a player you should be drafting in every league. The other 2, I could see maybe taking a few more weeks to really get blown to the offense. So I don't know if I would really draft them, big wire guys. But Hayden Hurst is definitely one guy I would consider drafting in a redraft league. Definitely Dynasty.
Yeah, my 2 guys were what you guys already talked about, Hayden Hurst and just Gesicki. I will not be rostering either of those guys. I don't want to roster either of those guys, but those are the best 2 candidates by far.
Yeah, I think depending on where I land in the draft, if I'm in a league where Gronk goes too early for my liking and Kelsey goes too early for my liking, I could see myself waiting, taking a guy like Jordan Reed and also taking a Mike Gesicki. I don't think that I really like any other tight end other than Gesicki because, even if Hayden Hurst has a good season, I don't see it being great. But Gesicki's one of those rare builds of a guy, 6'6", 250, 4.5 40. I mean, that guy has the potential to have a great season for a tight end. I believe there's only been 1 tight end ever to have a 1,000-yard receiving season as a rookie, and that was Mike Ditka. So that's pretty crazy to think about.
Wild stat.
I don't I think that Gesicki, if you look at a guy who has the potential to maybe do that, it would be him. But I don't see any other fantasy tight end being able to live up to that kind of hype.
So the only rookie tight end to ever get 1,000 over was Mike Ditka.
I think so.
So let's see. In 1985, Mike Ditka coached the Bears Super Bowl. What year was he a rookie tight end? Because I feel like they had the most advanced offense in the NFL.
Probably like 60.
It's wild.
That's
I
crazy.
don't know. Can you stat check that?
I will.
I think I'm right. I did not look up the definitive data, but I know he was a 1,000-yard guy, and I think he's like the only one.
I'll look that up. And when I looked that up, actually, I had this question. We talked about how, guy 4 through 8 on time list can be within 2 points of each other this season because all is that consistent. How do you guys feel about taking backup tight ends whenever every player is this close to the next one in front of them?
So I assume that you're talking about just like taking 2 separate tight ends and not taking a handcuff, right?
Yeah, that's definitely Adam Shaheen.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it. I don't do it necessarily. I'm kind of in the camp of guys that takes a good serviceable tight end, and then whenever I need to play the waiver wire, I go ahead and dip back in. I don't take a tight end too early. I don't ride one of those guys. But say if tight ends there's been a big run on tight ends in the middle of the draft, and I wasn't a part of it, and I'm sitting there looking at a Jordan Reed in the face, I'll take a guy like Jordan Reed, and I'm completely okay with going ahead and like doubling down and getting another tight end in the second round. But I'm not a guy who usually rosters 2.
I agree with you. I'm not one that rosters 2. Like you said, the only time is when you're taking a risk, like Tyler Eifert. I did it last year. Tyler Eifert maybe this year, and Jordan Reed. Think guys like that you can get in the later draft, and if you're getting 2 kind of in post rounds back to back, I'm fine with that. But like you said, if you're getting anyone from 4 through 8, just roster them, add another wide receiver, a running back, and then just hit the waiver wire hard.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, I agree. But I put my Ditka stat, and we can move on. 1961 rookie season, 1,076 yards on 56 catches.
On 56?
In 14 games.
Time?
What a beast.
No, his career high was 75 and 64.
That's crazy because that's like 20 catches, or that's 20 yards a catch, almost.
Almost, yeah.
What a stud. Mike Ditka. Bears legend.
In the 60s.
The most advanced offense in the history of football.
Yeah. Was that for the Eagles?
For the Bears.
For the Bears?
Yeah.
As a rookie?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy. So we'll go ahead and get back to B-Reich, the hot take detective. Guys, in case you are not aware of this game that we play, basically I ask Brandon a question, or I'll make him a hot take. I think the only reason Brandon watches sports is to try to prove me wrong. I don't think he actually enjoys them. He just likes to argue with me. So I'll come out and I will give Brandon one of my hot takes, something I firmly believe, and something that I will stand behind 100% no matter what happens down the stretch, and Brandon will tell me if I am right or wrong with my take. First up, we are going to do the preseason football edition. 5 for 5, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyrod Taylor looks great and is a quarterback who is way too versatile to play extremely bad. Baker Mayfield's ceiling is 1 start this season, and that's only if Tyrod is banged up or they are either submitted into the playoffs or out of the playoffs in Week 17.
So I just want to add another reason why this is such a great segment. I'm a Cubs fan, and I've started to root a little bit against Jose Quintana because Drake loves him way too much. And that actually is just really upsetting to me. So just so you know, this is a great segment. So let's go back to Tyrod Taylor. So this is wrong. Baker will start more than 1 game. Baker is talented as well. He brings a bunch of fire. And the city of Cleveland, they don't want a placeholder like Tyrod Taylor. They just want to.
Leighton told us earlier how fire is actually bad for a team with the Astros. So
No. Cleveland wants the fire. They drafted Johnny Manziel. They want the fire. Baker's first game as a pro, I mean, he made some impressive plays himself. He's a good quarterback. He's got a very, very high ceiling. Tyrod Taylor is just that guy that's going to go through the league, never be valued for what he is. He's an above-average quarterback. His ceiling isn't that high, but his floor is almost just as high. Like, he is a good quarterback, but he'll never be the guy. And for that reason, Cleveland fans will ask for Baker Mayfield unless Tyrod Taylor takes a huge step forward this year.
So you think that even if Tyrod is just good, he'll still get benched?
Yeah, just because if they didn't draft Baker Mayfield, like in the first overall pick, then maybe I would be a little bit more hesitant with that. But Tyrod Taylor, as unfair as it is, he'll never be the guy, and they'll ask for his head because they want to see Baker Mayfield play. And Baker Mayfield did show like he was at least exciting out there.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the biggest reason I have behind it. Not saying that it's fair. I think Tyrod Taylor is a good quarterback, but Baker Mayfield will start more than one game this year.
So I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so take number 2. Sam Darnold went 13 for 18 with 96 yards, 1 touchdown. But even with his impressive stats, the eye test was the best grade of all rookies that I had seen this past weekend as far as quarterbacks go. Sam Darnold will win the first team reps, win the starting job, and be rolled out there to start week 1. And if you don't believe me, watch the tape of Josh McCown standing on the sidelines, clapping, screaming, way too excited to me making $10 million to ride the bench.
That's actually... Josh McCown's a smart man. But anyway, I will agree with this one. Jets are not making the playoffs this year. You drafted a guy to be the guy, so let him be the guy this year. Let him do it. Like, I think we overcomplicated it last year during the college season when Sam Darnold struggled a little bit. Sam Darnold is going to be a good quarterback, and he needs to start right away. Josh McCown is happy to be a backup. He's pretty much a career backup. I'll agree with this one.
Hell yeah. Even if I get one, I'm usually pretty happy. Did you see the video of Josh McCown going crazy?
I didn't, but that I would be. I'm 100% on that camp. Like him. Who's that guy from Missouri? That's
Chase Daniel.
Dude, he's played like 2 games, and he has made so much money and played in this year.
$18.7 million.
And he's been in the league for like 10 years. Like this guy, these guys.
Me and my cousin, we were sitting in the sports book in Las Vegas this weekend, and I'm watching Sam Darnold, and I was explaining to him why I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And right about that time, they pan over to Josh McCown after he throws a dart. I mean, it's just a beautiful pass. And McCown's over there clapping, just screaming, so happy. And I said, this guy just got a $10 million guaranteed contract. He's about to be done with his NFL career. You know he doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
And every single time Josh McCown threw a good ball, it was the exact opposite of what you'd think the guy who had the starting job would do. He was way too happy about it. And I think Sam Darnold's going to be starter week 1, and I was right with my take. So take number 3. This is probably my boldest prediction of all these, but I 100% stand behind this. Shaquem Griffin. I've seen all I need to see. I said it after the Peach Bowl that he's going to be a legitimate NFL player. Today, after his first preseason game with 9 tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for a loss, I think Shaquem Griffin will be in the top 5 of Defensive Rookie of the Year votings.
I want this to be true. Hell, I think most of our listeners want this to be true, but I just don't think it will happen. He's going to make some big plays. He's a talent. He's got athleticism. He's, like you said, he put up some impressive stats for the preseason, but I don't think he'll get enough opportunity, especially right off the bat. I think he's mainly going to be used in situational downs and special teams to begin with. So, but this is a guy that's always going to play with a chip on his shoulder, and I would not be surprised if he makes a Pro Bowl in his career. But I just don't think he'll get the opportunity, and opportunity is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that what's eventually going to happen is that they're going to realize this is why I feel so confident in saying this. It's basically KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner at the linebacker position for the Seahawks. I think that the Seahawks are going to get more creative with what they do. I think that they will use Shaquem Griffin as basically like a pass rush specialist, and I think that if he gets into the games, which I think that he's going to increase his playing time over the preseason because he is so good. And if you don't believe me, just watch the tape against Auburn, which is about as pro-ready team as you can get. I think he's going to get the playing time. I ultimately think he's going to, and I think he's going to get top 5. But, Brandon, you think I got one of the 3 takes right?
Yes.
Okay. I can live with that. Even if I get one, I'm usually very, very happy. So we did the NFL preseason Be Like the Hot Take Detective preview there. But, guys, what was your biggest takeaway? Whether it be a team, player, new rule, give me what you saw in the preseason in week 1.
I was really impressed by the rookie quarterbacks that came up. Josh Allen had a really good game for Buffalo. Percentage. Baker Mayfield, talked him already. In a way, outshined Tyler Taylor. I think got the Browns fans whistling a little wet for that next great starting quarterback. And you've been missing Sam Darnold. Looks like the player who we thought was going to lead USC to a championship last season, but failed.
I'm going to go a little bit different than I think you guys were meaning, but I just love the over damn reactions after week 1 of the preseason. I saw a fantasy guy, like he is a pretty decent fantasy guy on Twitter, and he just said Allen Hurns will not. He said Allen Hurns is not the receiver we thought he was going to be. Won't be on the first team. Not taking first team reps. The first team reps are like 5. They're like 5 plays. Let's get over that. Like, let's calm the hell down. I think people get way too pessimistic the first couple weeks of preseason when all it should be is like look for like pros.
Yeah.
Like you should look at the pros and all of it. But and also like rookie running backs, like Ronald Jones kind of struggled, Nick Chubb struggled. People are all on that. Like, these guys are going to figure it out. Like, they're going to get the opportunity. We need to calm down a little bit. But like Leighton said, I did like a lot of the quarterbacks. Josh Allen is who we thought he was, going to make great plays and throw the ball crazily off all the time. But
really far.
But really far.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get cameras for that guy.
I love the overreactions. And even Leighton kind of hinted at one with Tyrod being outshined by Baker. Because Baker did play, or Tyrod played great. In fact, he played a
5 for 5. Yeah.
Yeah, he did not throw an incompletion. So even ourselves, we get into the hype, and we actually get, into the overreactions. My biggest takeaway, guys, I gave him as your running back number 15 last week. He is my Kareem Hunt of last year. It's Kerryon Johnson, 7 rushes for 34 yards, led all Detroit rushers with that stat, and 4 receptions with 33 yards. Both were, I think the receptions was second on the team as well with the receiving yards was second on the team. So he's very, very versatile, which is something that Detroit needs out of one single back. And I gave you the 7 rushes for 34 yards. That's pretty good. That's about 5 yards per carry. But what if I told you that he also had a 50-yard run that got called back for a hold that really nobody saw? The guy was a monster. The run that he actually got the 50-yard carry on, it was actually he got the ball and had to cut back across the field and was actually outrunning the safety. So, I mean, the guy is a legitimate stud. I think that he showed his speed, he showed his field vision, and he showed his ability to break tackles, which, in my opinion, there's only one guy on the roster that has the ability to do that, and that's LeGarrette Blount. And LeGarrette Blount's not a 3-down back. LeGarrette Blount's a touchdown machine, and he's going to come in at the 2-yard line, and he's going to plug it in for you. But Kerryon Johnson, I feel like after I hinted that we always have the overreactions. I moved him up to running back 13. I think he's going to be that good.
Watch out for him to crack top 5 in 3 weeks.
Hey, laugh what you want, but he was playing against the third stringers, and he moved up 2 spots on my running back list. So hey, overreactions are a real thing, and I'm guilty of them too.
Yeah.
Guys, we've been going division by division. We've had, I think basically we have been identical leaders. We've had the Steelers, Vikings, Rams, Chargers be the only teams that we thought had a chance to win their division. Today we have the NFC and AFC East. I hope that there's more parity. I fear that there's not going to be. But B-Right, take us away with your NFC East standings.
All right, NFC East. I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles repeating right here. I'm going to have them going 11-5. Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz, good offense. Defense should be just as good. We'll go 11-5. Dallas at 9-7. I think they'll be better than last year. That's not much better. They could flirt with 10 wins, but I think they'll make the playoffs. Giants 7-9. Good offense. Still a lot of questions other than their offensive weapons. 7-9. And then Redskins, I have them regressing to 5-11. Even with Alex Smith in the helm, I just don't see them getting much better from last year.
Yeah, I have the Eagles going 12-4. Ben talked about it. They get back Carson Wentz Super Bowl. Not going to get a whole lot worse. The Cowboys have one game better than that, going 10-6. I have them edging out some real close games. The Giants are going 7-9. And Ben mentioned what could go wrong. But their first 7 games are at home against Jacksonville, at Dallas, at Houston, home against the Saints, at Carolina, home against Philly, and at Atlanta. That's a brutal first 7 games of the schedule.
Looking nasty.
That's a brutal.
Like,
First
going
7.
500, they are, like, amazing right there.
Yeah.
They'll be under 500 for sure then.
That's brutal. And the Redskins are going 6-10. Alex Smith, good quarterback, has healthy enough talent there to really compete.
Yeah. So number 1, I'm just going to go ahead and make it unanimous. I think that the Eagles are going to be 11-5, and they're going to win the division. And then number 2, I actually have the Giants. I think the world of Pat Shurmur. I think that he took his, as far as a head coach in the NFL goes, every head coach has to have his bumps. You look at Belichick, and you look at look at the college ranks. Nick Saban had to have a failure as a college or of an NFL head coach, and Pat Shurmur's done that. And obviously, it was with the Browns. I have them going 10-6. Leighton hinted at it earlier. Tough, brutal front half of the schedule, but it seems like the Giants always get that because for some odd reason they like putting anybody with the last name Manning on primetime. So I think that Eli is going to be able to keep this team head above water through that first half of the schedule and be able to reel in a 10-6 season. Number 3 in the NFC East, I have the Cowboys going 6-10. I just don't really like this team outside of Ezekiel Elliott. Dak Prescott's okay. I think Hearns is going to be a little bit of an upgrade for him at wide receiver. But other than that, I mean, we saw Sean Lee play 11 games healthy last year, and I don't think Sean Lee will probably ever repeat that again. And as far as Jason Garrett goes, I just don't think he's that great of a coach. Tough division, Cowboys 6-10, and then at number 4, I have the Redskins going 5-11. I absolutely love Alex Smith. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback, but I don't think that he's an upgrade from Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback, and I don't think that this team did anything to get better. They basically wasted a pick for this year on Darius Geis, who is obviously out for the season with an ACL tear. I thought Josh Doxson would take a step forward last year. He never did. I thought that that Jordan
Crowder.
Reed would be healthy, would be good. Never was. I just think that this is going to be a disaster. I think that Alex Smith is who exactly everybody thinks he is. He's a very, very good quarterback that is not going to propel the talent level of your team. He's going to let everybody play really, really good. He's not going to have bad games. He's going to be good enough to get this team 5-11.
Drake, you're lucky I had my headphones in. If somebody would have heard you said 6-10 Dallas, with me being in Dallas, they'd be driving up there right now to cut off your head.
I just don't think this is a good football team, and I don't think the coach really helps the team at all.
Well, I'll ask my neighbor. He'll probably say they're going 13-3.
Yeah. I bet your neighbor's gonna love them. Good thing you're moving out of town soon. So we'll cover the Titans next week. So the AFC East, guys, I think this is going to be pretty obvious. I think we'll all have the Bills on top. But B-Rock, you take it away.
Oh yeah, how could you not? Josh Allen, man. No, I'm gonna have the Patriots. This is gonna be the worst division in football. Patriots 12-4. I don't think they're good as a 12-4 team, but that division, they're going to get a lot of wins. New York Jets, I have them being 8-8. They overperformed last year. I think they'll keep on doing it. I think Robbie Anderson will get them buckets. What do you think, Layden?
Robbie Anderson gets buckets.
McBuckets.
Big buckets. I have the Dolphins going 6-10, 5-11. I think again overperformed with Jay Cutler last year. Ryan Tannehill, if healthy, is definitely better. I think they lost some key players, some big weapons. So I'm going to have them 6-10. Bills, I think, are going to be abysmal. I think they're 3-13. I think the Bills are just awful. I think they're an awful, awful team.
Yeah, I had the Patriots going 11-5. Not as great as they have been in the past, but the division's just so awful. They're going to help them from this. Then I had the Jets. Brandon going 8-8. I don't really see how. I'm going a hot 4-12. Not saying they'll have some close games down the stretch, but the team isn't good enough to win games right now. Also at 4-12, I have the Dolphins. Don't like their roster really at all. Just talk about them a whole lot here in a minute. And at 3-13, I have the Bills. The only thing they're going for them is a rookie quarterback. They're going to throw it 300 yards. And Sean McCoy on 16,000 carries. Touches.
I'm gonna go ahead and ruin your night, Leighton, and say that it'll be impossible for 3 teams in a division to win a total of 12 games.
That's what I was about to ask. I don't think that's actually possible.
Well, actually, it's 11 games. And, guys, you guys know how I've cross-referenced every single division with teams, so that my record in the year will be perfect. 8-8, or add up to 16. And that's just how it shook out. That's how it shook out.
You think it has that ever happened? The 3 teams have under 4 wins?
I don't know. I mean, I can see the Dolphins having 5 or 6 wins. I can see the Jets having 5 or 6 wins. But the way I did it, they have 4, 4, and 3. Sorry.
All right. Can't argue with your matrix. All right.
Okay. So with mine, I'm going to go with the Pats. Obviously, number 1, 12-4. They play the Packers, Steelers, Jags, and Vikings. So I'm going to tally them up for 2 losses there, and then they're going to get another 2 losses that they probably shouldn't. 12-4. Good season, obviously, for the Pats. Number 2, I have the Dolphins. I mean, they were a 6-win team last year with Cutler, and they didn't even realize that Kenyon Drake was a good running back until halfway through the season. They lost to the Bills twice, which won't happen again. They obviously upgraded to Ryan Tannehill with Cutler. Amendola, basically a parallel move from Landry. And then Minka Fitzpatrick and Mike Gesicki are both upgrades for that team. I don't see how this team gets less than 6 wins. I really don't. I know the schedule's tough, but you upgrade quarterbacks and you get a stud in the secondary, it's hard to be worse. Number 3, I actually have the Jets, 5-11. I think this is just going to be more growing pains for the Jets. I like the direction that they're heading under with Darnold, and they have really good pieces. Deron Lee, Jamal Adams with that defense. But I think there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be games where Darnold's bad, and we question why he's the 3rd overall pick, and then we're going to be having games with Darnold where we question why he wasn't the number 1 overall pick. And then obviously bringing up the rear, I have the Bills. The Bills are just bad. They had 6 wins last year by 1 score or less, and Tyrod is at least 1 score better than McCarron or Josh Allen. So this team, I think they went 9-7 last year, made the playoffs. 6 wins where the things flop. That's a 3-12 football team. So I went ahead and gave him the benefit of the doubt. Thought that Josh Allen might have slung one 80 yards and scored a touchdown. So I put him at 4-12. I think they're going to be bad. I think Tyrod was actually a good quarterback, and I hope that the Bills are bad. I hope that they're terrible because I feel like they did Tyrod Taylor a disservice. You're a team that has 0 expectations. You're a franchise that has the longest drought in the NFL as far as playoffs go, and you had a guy who took you to a playoff game. I don't see why you just throw him out the window like that. So I hope the Bills are bad, and they're going to be bad.
So, Leighton, you asked me why I thought the Jets could go 8-8.
I didn't
Call that
ask you.
overreaction.
I didn't ask you. I just made fun of you.
It's an overreaction, man. They won 17-0. Week
They
1
did win.
2-0.
That's all that matters.
And Sam Donald threw a hell of an NFL pass, too.
Yeah.
Fuck it, 16-0. Chalk him up for it.
Hell, the Browns are 5-0 in the preseason the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, that's just because Hugh Jackson's an August coach, not a September through February coach. So, guys, let's go ahead and get to the staple of the show, and that's darts.
Pew, 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 pew. We're playing darts, baby.
In case you guys weren't familiar, basically, here's how it goes. We take a topic, and Leighton, this topic is what?
If the game could actually be a Fletcher, they don't really have a name yet.
Oh, Fletcher's Fantasy Trades.
There we go.
So,
it's the fantasy trades.
Basically, how this game goes is we'll all throw a dart. and we will talk about a cross-platform, cross-sports trade. So the way that Fletcher best explained it was taking Aaron Rodgers and trading him to the Brewers for Bryce Harper to go to the Nationals. So you take cities, you take their multiple teams, and you trade players. And we discussed whether or not that these would be good trades for both teams. It's either all or nothing. And they're actually pretty fun to discuss. So Leighton, producer, you have the darts. You take your throw.
We have an 8. 8 is Kemba Walker for Von Miller. So Kemba Walker goes to the Nuggets. Von Miller goes to the Panthers.
Oh, man.
If I'm Charlotte, I'm definitely taking this trade. Because getting Von Miller on defense already awesome last year would just be huge for that team. If I'm Denver, I'm hesitant because you already have Jamal Murray and Kim, the other young guard name that they have there. So if I'm Denver, I'm going to decline the trade. If I'm Charlotte, I'm definitely taking this one.
It's Gary Harris who you were thinking of, but yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't think this really benefits Denver as nearly as much as it's going to benefit Charlotte. Charlotte just becomes that much more of a. I'm sorry, I should say just Carolina Panthers become that much more of a Super Bowl team, and I don't think this moves the needle on Denver at all, the Nuggets. So it's a one-sided trade.
See, I actually okay, so I'll go ahead and start it off by saying if the Golden State Warriors weren't a team, I would love this trade for both cities. Because Kemba Walker with Gary Harris and Jamal Murray and it doesn't matter which guards it doesn't matter which guards you throw out there. You're always going to have firepower out there. And then you look at it with Jokic and Paul Millsap and now Michael Porter Jr. This team would be freaking loaded with Kemba Walker. And then you look at Von Miller going to Carolina. Like, that makes them a Super Bowl contender. And I think both teams actually benefit a lot from this. Now, does it make them better to beat the Warriors? I don't. Oh, man, that's tough. Because I think that team would be really good. Because I think that, like, their 7th and 8th best player are going to be better than what Golden State has. But, man.
Are you giving that? You're giving that team a chance against the Golden State Warriors?
I think so. I don't.
That team is basically the Phoenix Suns from a few years back when they had Goran Dragic, Isaiah Thomas, Eric Bledsoe, and Braden Knight.
No, they're better than that.
Really better.
Did any of those teams single-handedly lead the team to a championship?
I don't think that they would beat the Golden State Warriors, but I think with an injury they have a chance. And, Denver's not going to win a Super Bowl with Case Keenum this year, and I don't think Denver's football team is going to be great. I think that if I was both teams, I think I would do this trade because I think it makes you a playoff contender rather than one of your teams being left out. One of them's at least guaranteed a spot.
I believe you think they compete against the Warriors.
They're not competing against the Warriors.
That baffles me.
No, I don't think they would compete, but I think they're an injury away from being able to beat them. KD gets hurt, I think they have a chance.
Okay, we're gonna agree to disagree there. Throw that.
So, you guys both disagree? You guys would not do the trade?
Not for Charlotte. I do it for Denver.
I agree with Leighton.
So it's either all or nothing. So yes or no?
No.
Okay, I think I would. Okay, Leighton or B-Rock, your throw.
We have a 16. Nolan Arenado for Tom Brady. So let's get Nolan Arenado, and Buckers get Tom Brady. Well, I know I'm going with this one.
Ooh, I think it makes both teams better. That's for damn sure. And we all know what a quarterback can do in the NFL. I'm going to do this. Tom Brady with Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders still have a pretty good defense. That's great. Nolan Arenado at third base, way better than Devers. Devers is hurt too. It doesn't even freaking matter at this point.
Actually, he's back. Hit a home run in his first game.
Now.
Hit a home run in his first game back.
Well, he can go sit somewhere. I don't know. You got Nolan Arenado, Mookie Betts, JD Martinez, Benintendi. That team is nasty. And Arenado would hit so many over the green monster. I would do that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know I'm doing this trade. What you just sound was like an eargasm to me. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this trade makes both teams like legitimate contenders at both their sports. I know that Boston is already, the Boston Red Sox are already a legitimate contender, but I think that Nolan Arenado just puts them in the driver's seat to win the World Series. And you look at a guy like Tom Brady goes over to the Broncos. He just better hope Belichick follows him, because I don't think he wants Vance Joseph, who's out there having the time of his life trying to coach him. But I think this makes both teams contenders in their own sports, so I'm going to go with yes. I think both should do this.
I think so too. How awesome would it be if Denver got Peyton Manning at the end of his prime and Tom Brady at like the last couple of years?
That'd be awesome.
That would be great.
Then they
That'd
go
be
grab Drew Brees if he's
that'd be a
still
hell of a
around. They just
1-2
keep on
punch.
doing it.
John Elway will
Hey.
do something then.
But seriously, think about this. Is it really that big of a transition to go from Tim Tebow to Peyton Manning, and then a couple of years later go from Case Keenum to Tom Brady?
I'm gonna go with yes.
Huge. That's wild.
That would be
Huge.
awesome. I really like that one, actually.
That's
So,
cool. That's unanimous.
all in unanimous? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now it is my throw.
We have a 7. 7 is, Giannis Antetokounmpo for Ezekiel Elliott. So Giannis goes to the Mavericks, and Elliott goes to the Packers.
Oh, yeah. Both teams do this because the Cowboys are decent, and I have them going 6-10, which is perfect that we threw the dart today. But they're not going to win the Super Bowl. But with Antetokounmpo being so young and having all this potential, you move him in there with the young pieces that you've drafted over the couple of years. This is a team to be reckoning with in like 2 or 3 years. And I don't think Dak and Zeke will win a Super Bowl together. I think it's going to take them to get something other than Dak at the quarterback position. So I'm going to go with a yes, just because the Warriors' shelf life is shorter than what Antetokounmpo's prime is going to be. And Ezekiel Elliott, if he goes to the Packers are just going to basically shake the commissioner's hand and walk off with the trophy.
Yep, anything Drake said to repeat that. And, I thought of Dennis Smith Jr., Leonard Jordan, Iguodala, and Akumpo on the same court. That team that could do something. Okay, maybe not beat the Warriors, but come close, unlike the Nuggets with Kemba Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that Nuggets team with Kemba would smoke the Mavericks.
We are just going to disagree on that till the end of time. Unless they do the trade, because then we'd have proof. So, so you got DeAndre Jordan, doesn't shoot beyond 2 feet. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has improved his jump shot. Can't shoot very well, but, he's mainly a paint scorer. You got Dennis Smith Jr., he can't shoot. All he can do is dunk. It'd be exciting. And I definitely think the Mavericks should do it, but that would definitely be the no-shoot team. Both teams should do this. This is kind of a no-brainer. Because a lot of what Drake said, Antetokounmpo's and Dennis Smith Jr.'s primes are going to be longer than the Warriors and Rockets' shelf life. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a unanimous do, right?
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Leighton, recap, who are we sending where?
We have voted not to send Kemba Walker to the Nuggets and Von Miller to the Panthers. We have unanimously decided to send Nolan Arenado to the Boston Red Sox and Tom Brady to the Broncos. We've also unanimously decided to send John Antetokounmpo to the Mavericks and Ezekiel Elliott to the Packers.
Okay, so good recap there, Leighton. Leighton, how about you go ahead and just take the floor, and you go ahead and talk about whatever movie you watched this week for our weekend Pips Entertainment Review.
1 2 1 2 Pips Entertainment Review. Sit on down for a movie to view.
Okay, well, for the next several weeks, it's going to be a little different. Hard Knocks premiered, and I feel like a lot of fans are saying Hard Knocks. You don't watch Hard Knocks, you definitely should. It gets 3 dips every season. So, if I watch a movie, I'll talk about that super short, if at all, and then talk about Hard Knocks. I really saw this week actually called Black Klansman. It's a Spike Lee joint.
Oh, this looks awesome.
Spike Lee joint.
And I'm not talking about a whole lot, but just straight up, if you can't take if you're white and you can't take a joke about yourself or joke around at all, don't go see this movie because you're going to hate it. Because it definitely plays against white people. I can take a joke and laugh at myself. And I thought the movie was really, really funny. So if you can, go see it. If you can't, definitely stay away. I'm going to get 2.1 dips. Because it was entertaining and really funny, actually.
So super funny.
Yes, I laughed a lot.
Yeah, I hate when people can't take jokes about themselves. Like, dude, calm down.
Yeah, like,
Calm the hell down.
yeah, for sure. But,
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching that then. Spike Lee Joyne, eh?
yeah. But, on to Hard Knocks. So first about Hard Knocks, Baker Mayfield, you guys know, I love the guy. How you hate this guy, I just don't understand. So show opens up. He comes to the airport for the first time. A fan asks him, "Hey Baker, can I get a picture or an autograph or something?" Baker flat out says on camera, "I'm not supposed to, but yeah, come on." Man of the people.
He is
Man
a
of the people. How did
Dude, I feel like that's how Baker's lived like 98% of his life. He's like,
How-
Coach told me not to, but
how
this
do you
looks like it'd be fun.
how do you even hate this guy? He did show up to practice an hour later than Tyrod did, but I'm not super concerned about that.
You know what's awesome is that Cowherd tried to like spin that
Yes.
into saying
Yes.
that
He was an hour late.
yeah, he was an hour late. It's like, dude, okay, he was 2 hours early. It's
Yeah.
just Tyrod was 3.
Yes.
Tyrod's just retardedly early.
Yeah, 3 hours early is just ridiculous. I can't handle people that want to dog him for that, because Tyrod obviously is a man of the people, like you said. I'm not supposed to, but I will. I love that.
The next highlight of the show was Jarvis Landry getting on all the wide receivers' ass for taking it easy in drills, because Jarvis wants to win more than 3 games this year.
Yeah, could you imagine that the guy who got caught with the weed in his car and got caught with a diluted sample at the combine was taking it easy at practice?
Nope. Next highlight was Todd Haley screaming at Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman is now traded. So,
Makes sense.
we'll see that on this week's episode of Hard Knocks, but yeah,
So
we know what happens.
It sounds like the Browns are finally giving Todd Haley what he wants, and the Steelers could never do that.
Yes. But guys, this is the best part. Are you sitting down for this?
I'm sitting down.
I literally am.
In the coaches' meeting, assistant coach, I can't really tell which one it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Todd Haley, recommended they change something that they do. Hugh Jackson shut that down hard, saying that, I appreciate your opinion, but it's my ship, and at the end of the day, I said it how I want it. And he steered that ship to a 1-31 season in 2 years.
That is Todd. That was Todd Haley.
That was Todd Haley.
That was on Coward too that they made fun of.
Are you serious? Hey, okay, so we just did shittiest take of the week, and it was by Hugh Jackson, who said it's his ship. He steers it how he wants, and he completely disregards the guy who led a team to a Super Bowl victory as the offensive coordinator and was just an absolute stud as an offensive coordinator.
If you weren't going to bring it up, I was going to ask you how Haley and old Hugh were getting along.
Yeah,
And I'm
so
guessing
he
it's
seriously-
better than you could imagine.
He seriously told Hugh, Todd Haley that.
Yeah, it's his team. He runs it how he wants.
Honest to God, I don't know if you guys have, but have you ever worked with that person that you just like they're the man? Like, you don't mess with them. Like, they're the man. And I feel like
Well,
that's how.
That's me at my job, so I can't really say that.
So Todd Haley, I feel like, is the man at the Browns facility. And I don't know how Hugh Jackson has the audacity to come out and say, nope, you're wrong. I'm the man here. This is the way we're going to do it. I feel like if I was Hugh and I wanted to keep a job, I would just do whatever Todd Haley told me to do, and I would just follow in line, because that's the easiest way to keep a job. You have a guy who has Super Bowl experience just lead the way.
Well, see, here's why Todd Haley's there. He knows that they're not going to be very good this year again, and he knows Hugh Jackson's getting fucking fired. And he knows he's going to be the first man in for the job at head coach.
Next man up.
Next man up, him or Greg Williams.
Well, if history's taught us anything, not taking advice from successful people and keep on doing the thing that has not worked over and over again is just that's how you build success.
1-31.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
A dynasty. So far, Leighton, what would you give us for your first few experiences watching Hard Knocks.
For the first episode, wasn't as good as the previous episodes have been. They always run slower. They don't have a game yet, obviously. You don't get to really meet any like the lower star players and get to know them. So I'm gonna give it 2 dips. And like out there, if you're a football fan, watch Hard Knocks. It's still something that HBO Go is enough HBO because it's really good, entertaining stuff. Last time 2 years ago, me and Drake watched all of the Houston Texans, and that's why Drake drafted DeAndre Hopkins, and then boom, stud.
Yeah, I agree. You get a little bit of inside game film, and you give this man a little bit of a show. He's going to run with it. So 2 dips, Hard Knocks. How many for the Spike Lee joint?
2.1.
2.1.
But
okay.
But again, if you can't take a joke about yourself, just don't go see it because you'll walk out of the theater.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to go see that. That sounds really good. So, guys, any bold predictions for this week?
The Giants narrow the gap in NL West to 3.5 games or fewer.
The Alfred Morris signing does nothing to Jerick McKinnon this whole season. Jerick McKinnon still top 12.
That sounds more like a prayer than a bold prediction. My bold prediction, however, is the same one that I used last week. I'm staying on the train. I think the Yankees are going to falter here, and I think this time next week we're talking about how the New York Yankees, who are now losing to the Mets, with Severino, who was pitching, against DeGrom, who has a losing record, they will be within 1 game of losing their top wild card spot. Did you guys like how I spun that?
Yes,
I did.
yes, because we all know that wins and losses is all that really matters for starting pitchers.
DeGrom is such an animal. How can you wake up in the morning and say, I got to go pitch for the Mets, I'm going to bring my A game? But yet he does every single day.
Because he knows you're going to get traded on 2 seasons. He's out of that shithole.
Yeah, and he's going to be making $1 billion.
At least.
At least $1 billion.
He might make the most money for a pitcher like ever.
Yeah.
As far as like per season, coming out of the Mets, there's a good chance because people are going to think, man, imagine how good if he was pitching that great for the Mets. They'll be pitching better for us. So, guys, anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
As always, thanks for listening. Remember, we are Spotify. 1 month from today.
Boom.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. And as always, Dippers, for Drake, for Leighton, for B-Rock, stay saucy.